Brad's got a good car tonight. We saw that first run there. He was able to run Kyle Busch down after Kyle got a pretty good lead like we see he has now. He has about a 10-car length lead.
I'll tell you, this brand new team that Keselowski's with, they've really got their act together. And I talk about this crew chief, Paul Wolf, a lot. I know you're probably getting tired of me saying that, but the guy's really lit this team up. He's been a veteran crew chief in the Nationwide Series. This guy won last weekend. A little controversy with the shock in the spring. But all in all, a good, strong car all year long so far.
Fighting for second spot, Mike.
Yeah, and as Rusty was talking about, this is a relatively new team. I spoke with Paul Wolf this afternoon about that very aspect. He said they didn't even really get started on building this fleet until November after Homestead. Now they've got 12 cars. They're very competitive, but as good as they've been so far here in 2010, he expects better things because just now they've begun to build the baseline. They didn't have that back in February.
And I want you to look there. These two cars have been racing each other side by side. They're running at least equal lap times and maybe a little faster than Kyle Busch. They've closed the gap just a little bit on him.
You know, as the race goes on, Andy, down especially in turn 3 and 4, when I was driving the car, I used to always like the high side of that track. I always got more grip up there. Seemed like I'd run harder off the corner. And if I got pinched down the bottom now like Keselowski is, man, that made it hard for me to get that straightaway speed I really wanted by the end of the front straightaway.
Now, this is the kind of situation that makes you love Richmond and at the same time, if you're a driver, frustrates you because Keselowski, he can't use all the track and needs it from that bottom of turn 2, right? And Sorensen is able to keep him pinned down, and he can't finish the pass.
Well, I really think if you change positions and the 22 was on the outside, he'd be running faster. Keselowski has obviously got a good car right there, but I totally agree with you, Alan. You get locked in that bottom, you just can't let that car run up the track and pick up that speed.
So now he's going to drop back in, let it cool down, regroup, and try it again, right?
Yeah, cool his brain down, too. He's getting frustrated. He's got to get it together, be patient. I guarantee you his spotter's calming him down. It's a long race. Be cool, buddy. Got a fast car.
Now, while you watch the race for second on the left, here's Clint Boyer and Paul Menard, 21 and 98, back in the pack. This is for 20th place. Kind of surprising for those two guys.
Both of them. I mean, Paul's had a great season so far. You just don't expect them to be that far back. I expect to see him farther up as the race goes on.
And Clint Boyer, former winner here, the Childress team, always really strong here. But
Keselowski finally makes the pass on Reed Sorensen and gets clear. Now we'll see if he can run down Kyle Busch.
Let's talk about Clint Boyer, Doc.
Yeah, Clint's run awfully well here in the past, but that's not happening tonight. I talked to him after qualifying. He said, Doc, it's going to be a long night for this 21 bunch. We just cannot find a way to grip the racetrack. He's already been on pit road in that first caution flag on lap 14, said it was so loose it came in and made a major track car adjustment, and he's still fighting a race car he can't get to really get in the corner with and get the turn in the middle of the corner coming off.
Doc, I've been watching Clint Boyer's car, the 21, and as he gets in the corner, the front brake rotors are really starting to light up in this car. That's an indication to me, Andy, that the car's not really handling right now.
Well, you know, I would think that too, but we see that so much now. We see these rotors glowing redder and more heat in them. And even Kevin, we talked to Kevin before the race, and he said he expected his rotors to be glowing red. He expected to be using them, but didn't expect it to be a problem.
I know when I was driving, I'd get down the corner, I would try to arc it out, and if I couldn't do that, Alan, I find myself getting straighter at the corner and getting all over the brakes, and I was really burning my brakes down, and that's where I needed my spotter to say, hey, Rusty, those brakes are glowing, you better do something about it.
By the way, Boyer in that 20th spot, the farthest ahead of the few cars that did pit under that caution earlier. Mentioned that Kevin LePage has taken his car to the garage. This is 22nd place. 34 is Tony Raines, and front row Joe. In that white 87 car, James Busher in the 1.
See right behind this group, Coleman Presley in the 23. It's a good battle.
All right, so while they're knocking around there, here's Reed Sorensen trying to hang on to third spot. And those Penske Dodges, boy, they've been strong this year.
All year long. I mean, we talked to Justin Allgaier a couple weeks ago, and it's like a light switch went off from the performance he had at the end of last year to now. I mean, this team has really got their act together. That Verizon Dodge has been flying all year long, and he says it's because they put new bodies on this car, a new style of thinking, and he really thinks that's what woke this car up.
And I bet they're not being hurt by the fact that they've got a teammate to share information with as well, and a pretty darn good one in Brad Keselowski. How about this 12 car, Dave?
You know, that is one thing that crew chief Chad Walter told me about these two teams, the 12 and the 22. He said it's eerily good how well these two teams work together. I've been been in this situation before, and they work well, but I've never seen anything like the 12 and the 22 with Paul Wolf, the crew chief. So they're working well together. The drivers are competing against each other, and it's really showing up in their performance.
Allgaier knocking around behind Reed Sorensen here, trying to get that third spot from him. And again, there's that spot, turn 2, get underneath him, but can't get by him.
Okay, look right here up front, boys. This 22 car is running down Kyle Busch. Let's close that gap quite a bit. About a tenth faster the last 2 or 3 laps in a row.
Yeah, and in my eyes right now, this track has went through a transition now. Now it's about completely dark here in Richmond. The track has cooled down a lot, and every time it cooled down when I was driving, I always got better grip. I could run different lines on the track. It wasn't as slippery, and the car always handled a little bit better.
So Allgaier not yet able to complete the pass on Sorensen for third. Keselowski running down Kyle Busch for the race lead. And we have put 50 laps of the 250 distance on the board. And by the way, Kevin Harvick's car, pretty lumpy. He's moved up to 5th, looking pretty good. Watch that 33 car coming to the front. Still early in the going tonight here in Virginia's capital city. Great race for the lead in Richmond. You are seeing it from our aerial coverage, brought to you by DirecTV. DirecTV, it'll change your life. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Brad Keselowski in the 22 has caught Kyle Busch in the 18. Now can he finish the pass?
That's the tricky part. Catching him was one thing, but now trying to make this pass, and this is where it gets tricky, like you said, with completing the pass. It gets frustrating sometimes, but you see right here, Brad Keselowski's giving him a run.
Well, he's giving a run, but Andy, you're exactly right. This is one of the toughest racetracks to run side by side with and be able to make a pass, but he got enough distance getting in that now he just drove right past him.
I just saw Kyle Busch make a good move right there. He just let him go, and see his brakes were kind of glowing. He might just cool it for a little while and see if his car will come back to him.
Yeah, totally agree. We're only 60 laps in this race right now. Why tear your equipment up right now? Why burn the brakes up? All that stuff. Be patient, man.
Kyle saying anything on the radio, Mike?
It's not what he said on the radio, but it's what Jason Ratcliffe said to me before the race. He said they were thrashing in practice. They weren't really sure where they would be when they started this race. And despite the fact that Kyle has led the majority of this race, he wasn't all that pleased, saying the car was very loose. So loose, in fact, they've already contemplated pulling a spring rubber on their first stop. So this car's still not dialed in to their liking.
And this track could come back to him. If his car's loose, the track's still going to cool down some, and he still has a chance of the track actually coming back to him as well.
Look at this for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Well, these guys have been going at it right here. You can see Justin Allgaier. Oh, and he gets into Reed Sorensen just a little bit off turn 2.
But was it enough to bend that right front fender?
It didn't look like it had any damage on the right front when he went by that last time. I'm really sensitive to that stuff right there, because all year long, Andy, we've been seeing guys rut fenders, and 4 or 5 laps later, they're blowing the tires out because of it. You know, Reed Sorensen doesn't look like he's even trying to get to the bottom of that racetrack. He's chose that second lane. He's been staying up there all night long. That's where his car's working the best right now.
Yeah, he's giving the guys plenty of room to race underneath, but he's using that lane to make some good speed.
The Harvick is absolutely filling Allgaier's rearview mirrors here. Is that unsettling?
Well, for Allgaier, it's probably unsettling, and for Kevin, he's probably getting frustrated. Now, he knows that the 32 of Sorensen's working good in the racetrack. He can't get nothing done on the top. He's going to have to get on the bottom, because Sorensen's not going to move.
How much of your focus is on this battle with Reed Sorensen and the guy that's right on your bumper, though?
Well, I mean, it's definitely, if I'm Kevin Harvick, you know, I am looking at what's going to happen to both of these guys. And if I'm Reed Sorensen, you know, I know Kevin's back to breathing on my bumper. Kevin's the guy that's got to be patient right now. Now, it's a whole different ball game at the moment, because Allgaier's got gone now.
One car headed to pit road just in front of them. We'll check out who that is. Let me mention Morgan Shepherd has just taken his car to the garage. Josh Wise is off the track. Kevin LePage, David Gilliland, Mike Wallace still behind the wall, along with Mark Green, Derek Cope, and Brian Keselowski. And that was on pit road, the 09 car, I believe, of Hermie Sadler, making his first start of the Nationwide Series since 2004.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, he's from this area. He's excited about it. It's got a good sponsor on there. He's all pumped up, Hermie is, I can tell you that.
So Justin Allgaier in the Verizon car up to 3rd position. Reminds you that if you're a Verizon Wireless customer, text CHAMPION to 43776 for exclusive Champion Chats content from our NASCAR Now Roundtable panel. The one you'll get this week is talking about Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and what Rick Hendrick has to do to keep that from disrupting the championship flow of that race team. 67 laps down, Brad Keselowski, the second leader of tonight's NASCAR Nationwide Series race in Richmond.